Before you hear another piece of advice from the internet, hear this. Most women never say what they truly crave from men because when they did in the past, it cost them safety, attraction, or respect. And if you're listening right now, it's because part of you already senses that what you've been told about women has never fully worked. I'm speaking to you not as a critic, but as a female psychologist who has spent years listening to what women whisper in private and what men are never invited to hear. The first secret is not about looks, money, or status. It's about emotional gravity. Women crave a man who is internally anchored, a man whose emotional state does not rise and fall based on her moods, her approval, or her attention. When a man is emotionally unanchored, he becomes reactive, needy, unpredictable. That feels unsafe, and attraction cannot survive where safety collapses. Most men think being emotionally available means constantly explaining, apologizing, or oversharing. That's not emotional strength. Emotional strength is self-regulation. It's the ability to feel deeply without leaking insecurity. When a woman senses that you can experience fear, desire, frustration, or uncertainty without needing her to stabilize you, something primal relaxes inside her. She feels she can lean without you tipping over. The second thing women crave but rarely articulate is decisiveness without dominance. Many men confuse leadership with control. Control feels suffocating. Indecision feels exhausting. What women crave is a man who can choose a direction and stand in it calmly, not loudly, not aggressively. Calm certainty signals competence. It says, I can handle outcomes. When you hesitate constantly, defer everything, or ask for permission at every turn, you unknowingly shift emotional labor onto her. Over time, that erodes desire. Another unspoken craving is presence without performance. Women are acutely sensitive to when a man is doing masculinity versus being grounded in himself. When you speak to impress, posture to intimidate, or agree to please, she feels the dissonance. Presence means you are mentally in the moment, not rehearsing your next line or managing an image. A man who is present listens without hunting for advantage. That creates emotional intimacy without words. Women also crave emotional honesty without emotional dumping. There's a crucial difference. Emotional honesty is naming your inner world with clarity and ownership. Emotional dumping is unloading raw emotion without containment. One builds trust. The other creates pressure. When you can say, this matters to me, instead of, you're making me feel this way, you remain sovereign. Women are drawn to men who take responsibility for their inner world. The final truth in this opening is uncomfortable for many men. Women crave your boundaries. Not walls. Boundaries. When you say no without hostility, when you walk away without drama, when you hold standards without punishment, you communicate self-respect. And self-respect is contagious. Without boundaries, attraction collapses into caretaking. Desire cannot survive in a dynamic where she feels responsible for you. None of this is taught openly. Most men are trained to chase, perform, or suppress. But the men women remember are the ones who are internally solid, the ones who didn't need to convince, the ones who didn't crumble, the ones who stood still while the world moved around them. Here's the next layer most men never hear. Women crave emotional attunement, not emotional agreement. You don't need to agree with her feelings. You need to understand them. There is a profound difference. When a woman shares something vulnerable, she is not asking you to fix it, correct it, or debate it. She is asking, can you see me without losing yourself? The man who can listen, reflect, and remain grounded becomes emotionally magnetic. Another secret is that women crave masculine restraint. Not repression, restraint. There is immense power in a man who does not act on every impulse, sexual, emotional, or verbal. When you can feel desire without grabbing, anger without exploding, jealousy without accusing, you communicate control over yourself. That signals safety at a biological level. A man ruled by impulse feels dangerous, even when he means well. Women also crave consistency of character. Not perfection. Consistency. Many men behave one way when pursuing and another once comfortable. Women notice this shift instantly. What creates deep trust is when your values, tone, and behavior remain stable across stress, conflict, and boredom. Stability is not boring to the female nervous system. Unpredictability is. Another unspoken desire is emotional leadership during uncertainty. When life becomes chaotic, many men retreat inward or seek reassurance from their partner. Women crave a man who can acknowledge uncertainty while still moving forward, saying, "I don't have all the answers, but I will handle this," does more for attraction than pretending to be invincible or collapsing into passivity. Women also crave to feel chosen, not chased. Chasing feels flattering briefly. Being chosen feels grounding. When you pursue without discernment, you communicate scarcity. When you choose with clarity, you communicate value. Choosing means you see her clearly, not idealized, not projected onto. It means your desire is intentional, not compulsive. There is also a deep craving for emotional depth without chaos. Many women are drawn to men who can access sadness, tenderness, and fear without dramatizing them. Emotional depth is attractive when it is integrated. Chaos is not. If your emotions control your behavior, she will eventually disengage to protect herself. Another truth few men hear: women crave your stillness. Silence does not mean absence. When you can sit in silence without tension, without scrolling, without filling space, you create a field of calm. That calm allows intimacy to emerge naturally. Many men unknowingly sabotage intimacy by over-talking, over-explaining, or over-performing. Finally, women crave a man who does not make her the center of his identity. Desire flourishes when both people have gravity. When your life, purpose, and direction exist independent of her, she can move toward you freely. When she becomes your emotional center, she feels the weight of it. Attraction bends under that pressure. Now we move into the territory men rarely examine honestly. Women crave emotional courage. Emotional courage is the willingness to face discomfort without avoidance. This includes difficult conversations, naming needs, and tolerating tension without fleeing or attacking. When a man avoids conflict entirely, women don't feel peace. They feel disconnection. When you can stay present in discomfort, you become trustworthy. Women also crave authenticity over likability. Many men shapeshift to be accepted, believing this builds attraction. In reality, it erodes it. When your words align with your values, even if they create friction, women feel grounded. They may not always agree with you, but they respect the solidity. Respect is the soil attraction grows in. Another quiet craving is emotional validation without self-erasure. You can acknowledge her feelings without abandoning your perspective, saying, "I understand why you feel that way, and here's how I see it," maintains polarity. Agreeing just to keep peace dissolves desire over time. Women also crave sexual confidence without entitlement. Confidence is comfort with desire. Entitlement is expectation of access. The former feels inviting. The latter feels threatening. When you express desire clearly while respecting boundaries, you create safety and tension simultaneously. That balance is rare, and it is powerful. Another truth is that women crave growth, not stagnation. This does not mean constant hustle. It means self-reflection. The man who can admit mistakes, learn, and evolve without collapsing into shame becomes increasingly attractive over time. Stagnation feels like emotional decay. Growth feels alive. Women also crave a man who can hold joy without distraction. Many men struggle more with joy than pain. When things are good, they sabotage, numb, or disengage. Being able to stay present during happiness signals emotional maturity. It tells her that connection will not disappear when things stabilize. There is also a craving for protective energy without possessiveness. Protection is awareness, preparedness, and care. Possessiveness is control and fear. When you are alert to her safety without limiting her autonomy, you communicate strength without insecurity. Lastly, in this layer, women crave your truth spoken calmly. Not as an attack, not as a defense. Calm truth has weight. It lands. It invites respect even when it disappoints. Men who can speak truth without emotional volatility become emotionally rare. The final secret ties everything together. Women crave a man who is at peace with his own masculinity. Not the version sold online. Not the one built from resentment or performance. A man at peace does not need to dominate to feel powerful or disappear to feel safe. He stands. Women crave emotional intimacy that does not ask them to manage your self-worth. When you know who you are, you invite connection instead of demanding reassurance. That is deeply attractive because it allows her to relax into her femininity without carrying your emotional weight. They also crave a man who listens beyond words. Tone, energy, silence. Women communicate as much through what is unsaid as what is spoken. When you listen with your nervous system, not just your intellect, you respond instead of react. Another unspoken desire is reverence without pedestalization, seeing her fully, flaws included, while still valuing her presence. Pedestals create pressure. Reverence creates intimacy. When you don't need her to be perfect, she can be real. Women also crave emotional safety during conflict. Arguments do not destroy attraction. How you argue does. Staying respectful, grounded, and oriented toward understanding builds trust. Losing control erodes it instantly. They crave a man who chooses integrity when no one is watching. Integrity is felt, not announced. It shows in small decisions, consistency, and how you treat people who offer you nothing. Finally, women crave a man who knows when to stay and when to walk away. Not as a threat, as a truth. Knowing you can leave means you are choosing to stay. That choice carries weight. Now I want to leave you with a question that cuts deeper than advice. If a woman observed your emotional responses, your boundaries, your presence, and your self-respect over the last 30 days, would she feel safe leaning into you or responsible for holding you together? Answer that honestly in the comments. If this spoke to something you felt but never heard named, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this before he repeats the same patterns again.